This little guy down here, his name is Trouble.
A bit ornery at times. Yes, trouble.
You know, it's like Trump. I really don't like him as a person. I think he's arrogant, kind of a jerk, but
David Hayes is a funny man.
I tried farming for a while, and I would rather get run over by a bison. You know.
What's up, everybody? Major Retired Richard Ojeda here, and Anderson Cooper's CNN report on Colorado's 8th Congressional District almost painted a picture of a community fully embracing Donald Trump's second term. But the full story of Colorado 8 is more complex. While some voters are content with Trump's policies, many others are raising concerns about how these changes will impact their families, livelihoods, and public services.
I don't know how many people he's fired. And, you know, Musk keeps saying, well, I found $1 billion of waste here. And Social Security, there's hundreds of people that are collecting it that are between 100 years old and 150. Can you believe any of that crap? You can't substantiate it, but you can't believe it. So that's a trust issue.
Across the district, community activists, local business leaders, and working class residents are navigating a political landscape that isn't overwhelmingly red or blue, but one that shifts depending on the turnout and the key issues at play. Colorado's 8th Congressional District is one of the most competitive in the nation, carved out during the 2020 census redistricting. It stretches from the northern suburbs of Denver to Weld County, encompassing a mix of urban and rural communities. With a Latino population nearing 40%, the district is home to thousands of immigrant workers who sustain its agricultural and meatpacking industries. It's a place where farmers, factory workers, and small business owners all coexist, but where political opinions are far from uniform.
I was raised as a migrant worker working in the fields. Those are the people that are out there picking their crops. So even though I support Trump, I don't believe that he's the end-all, be-all savior of humanity. Nobody is.
What's happening in Colorado's 8th District now reflects a broader national debate. While some residents see the administration's policies as fulfilling campaign promises, others worry about what comes next. From concerns over job cuts and immigration enforcement to ongoing calls for town halls and community engagement, there is an active conversation taking place, one that goes beyond the perspectives of just a few individuals. John King's reporting from Colorado's 8th Congressional District focused on 4 voters, each with their own perspective on Donald Trump's second term.
He seemed like the lesser of two evils, in my opinion.
But Jenkins finds the first month unsettling. Not a fan of tariffs or executive orders by the dozens or Musk popping from agency to agency.
I thought there's supposed to be checks and balances somewhere.
Each of these voters had different reasons for supporting Donald Trump, and each expressed at least some hesitation about elements of his administration. Yet all 4 ultimately stood by their votes, signaling that for them, the benefits still outweigh the concerns. But as Colorado 8 continues to react to policy changes, these perspectives are only part of the larger conversation happening in the district. The voices that weren't featured in CNN's coverage are the ones driving real change in Colorado's 8th Congressional District. While the segment highlighted a handful of business owners and ranchers who ultimately stood by Trump's agenda, the other side of Colorado 8 is organizing, speaking out, and demanding accountability. On February the 1st, the people of Colorado 8 sent a clear message. They won't sit quietly while their rights, their health care, and their communities are under attack. One of the largest demonstrations in recent memory took place, led by a Latino coalition of Weld County, Greeley Weld Indivisible and Indivisible No Co., and other grassroots organizations. Hundreds gathered to demand protections for immigrant families, call out attacks on public education, and push back against the administration's threats to Social Security and Medicaid. But it didn't stop with just one march. Since then, activists have been out on the street corners nearly every single weekend, holding signs, making their voices heard, and keeping the pressure on. There have been constant meetings, community organizing efforts, and direct actions aimed at holding elected officials accountable. And when the march and the street protests weren't enough, activists decided to take their demands directly to Gabe Evans's office. When Gabe Evans's office refused to engage, real constituents showed up in person to make their voices heard.
Dear Honorable Congressman Evans, although we haven't met and are separated by generations of lived experiences, I believe we share something in common, a hope for a better world for all. With that common thread, I am among the many of your constituents who implore you to look beyond the tribalism of party politics and to see the nobler responsibility to be a voice for all your constituents, to see a path beyond, and to be a voice for the common good. To only support the party line is a road to chaos.
I'm deeply concerned about the welfare of the elderly and disabled who rely on Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, the children who depend on WIC and SNAP program assistance to be fed. Those people are your constituents. They are the people you are supposed to represent and assist.
Musk is a multi-billionaire, and he should not have such power without real congressional approval. I want him to seize the control he was elected to exercise for the betterment of our nation. Don't let a billionaire take his power.
And how did Evans' office respond to this growing fear? By closing their doors. Evans' staff has been making excuses after excuses, claiming they're too busy, too overwhelmed, and don't have enough staff to handle constituent concerns. The Greeley office shut down, forcing people to travel elsewhere just to have a chance at being heard. His staff insists that they care and that they're working to make sure voices are heard, but their actions say otherwise. No office hours, no scheduled town halls, and no real accountability. Is this what Colorado 8 can expect for the next 2 years? Dodging constituents instead of engaging with them? Blaming staffing issues instead of prioritizing accessibility? Offering empty reassurances instead of real answers? Yeah. For many in Colorado's 8th, this isn't just about politics. It's about whether their families will have health care, whether their children will have food, and whether their representatives will fight for them or ignore them. The frustration is boiling over, and grassroots activists aren't waiting around for politicians to act. The people of Colorado 8 are making one thing clear. Show up and fight for your constituents, or they'll replace you with someone who will. And that is an absolute fact. Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.